From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, first day in pads, observations, recruiting wrap-up, as well as the Legacy Weekend thoughts. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. On Mondays, Build Your Own Burger is the lunch special, usually $11.99, but it's $8.99 on Mondays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Half-pound Black Angus burger with lettuce, tomato, onion, and pickle. And you get a side dish, straight fries or curly fries, onion rings, maybe potato salad, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. Elevate it, add bacon or maybe avocado or fried egg. It's all there for you at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. CPTallybar.com is the website. Our website, warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. Thumbs up, please. Subscribe, please. 5-star rating and reviews, please. Corey and I here, even though it's the spring break week for many of our Florida not scholastic, that's like a high school. The college kids, you know, they're out partying, doing their thing. Corey's going to be doing it here in a little bit too, right, though, big dog?
I'll be cruising, yeah. I'll be on my first ever cruise here at the end of the week. So Stephanie is very, very excited. I'm excited, but a little not skeptical. Just I've never been on one of these, so I'm and I'm not dubious. Those aren't the right words. There's a word I'm looking for. Cautiously optimistic, maybe.
Okay.
About that I'm going to have a good time. She swears we'll have a good time.
Yeah.
I feel like we should. Why wouldn't we? But knowing me, I'll either fall over the balcony or I'll get sick from the boat, motion sickness, and or a shark will eat me. Who knows? There's a lot of stuff that could go wrong. I just want to bask in the sun, Aslan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to get some bronze on this body.
Yeah, man. It'll make the body pop, man. Make that six-pack come out of hibernation. It'll
That's
make
what
its
I'm
debut.
hoping.
Yeah.
What do you think about, and then we'll get into Florida State. What do you think about guys getting spray tans?
I am the most metrosexual guy probably on this show. I have not done that. Even I have like
why would you? You've got perfect olive skin as it is.
Well, there's sometimes I've gone into a tanning bed before to kind of get a nice base coat,
Right.
get a nice
But
base
you
coat
see
layer.
me, right? You see that, like, if I took off my shirt on a boat, people would think that there was an eclipse, like they would be blinded. So Stephanie's tried to talk me into it. I think I've talked myself into it.
Do it, all
but
right,
not like
do it,
I'm
do
not
it.
going to be orange. I'm not going to go full bronze. I just want like a dusting,
Okay.
just so I don't
Cheeto.
blind people.
Yeah.
Right.
Or Doritos.
Yeah. I don't want to blind people with if I take off my shirt.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, man. If you like drinking, eating, and gambling, and being with your lady, which I think check.
Yeah, you checked all the boxes
Yeah.
right there. Absolutely.
It's gonna be great for you.
I can't wait.
Are we gonna do a live show before you leave, though, Corey?
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see about it.
Another production meeting.
A little post-production addendum. Corey's not here for this one, so I'm inserting it into this show after we've talked. I forgot. My fault. I set the agenda. I forgot to mention, this is a big deal. Mycah Pittman revealed on his vlog, which is wildly popular on his YouTube channel. Search for Mycah Pittman on YouTube. You'll find it. Subscribe to it. Why don't you? Fortunately, he's going to miss 4 to 6 months following surgery on his hip. Apparently, I think he kind of goes into a little bit more detail on his vlog. I'm not going to steal all his thunder. Go to his vlog, everybody. But it is a hip injury. It's hip surgery, and he's out for 4 to 6 months. Outside of, I don't know, like a hip is pretty much the most major joint that you got there, especially as an athlete. So that's not great, but 4 to 6 months sounds very optimistic, and would probably put him somewhere in the vicinity of getting back, I don't know, in October if you don't want to push him too hard. This obviously opens up some opportunity for guys like Winston Wright that we thought would probably be competing for a slot position opposite Johnny Wilson, Darian Williamson, outside, out wide. Vandrevius Jacobs, possibly. This kind of enhances his opportunity to get on the field a little bit more. Ja'Kai Douglas, can't forget about Ja'Kai Douglas, which I almost just did. But something to keep an eye on here as we go up throughout the spring. We were told last week Mycah was one of the guys that was not going to be participating in spring football. Now we know why. As for what this could mean for Florida State when the season rolls around, probably a little too soon to tell because we're going to have all these spring practices, preseason camp, and then they'll get ready for the season, obviously. And these guys will be getting many more reps, and we'll just see how much guys like Vandrevis can grow. Still sounds like Winston Wright is not 110%, still kind of maybe having to clear some mental hurdles, but he's out there going through everything. So a position where there's a lot of depth, but obviously Mycah gives you a little bit of a different element because he just is so darn physical. If you watch that replay against Oklahoma, I mean, there's I think a 3rd and 3 play where he got busted up as soon as he caught the ball, but was able to kind of fall forward and keep his legs moving because he's like a little muscle hamster, like that Doug Martin guy that used to play for the Bucks. So bummer for Mycah, but sounds like he's in good spirits. Again, check out his YouTube vlog for more details, but he'll be out for 4 to 6 months. And that just means we'll have to keep an eye on guys like Winston Wright that much closer, and Vandrevis Jacobs and whoever else feels like grabbing the bull by the horns and taking advantage of this opportunity. So Corey was diligent, trepidatious, that's even a word, intrepid enough to knock out a story wrapping up the first day in pads on Friday before heading back to his manor on the north side of Gwinnett. And you headlined it, what? Jordan Travis, Johnny Wilson, surprise, surprise, they're good still. Really good.
Yeah.
What else stood out to you that maybe didn't make it into your write-up that you've had a few days to ruminate on now after watching Florida State in their first full day in pads? Again, they're off this entire week, folks. I'll be back Tuesday the 21st after spring break.
So I thought, honestly, the bigger story of the day, in my opinion, and I didn't get to see as much as Tom Lang did, but also I didn't want to step on toes because I knew Tom Lang was writing about it, was Darrell Jackson was essentially unblockable. And the cool thing about the way Florida State practices, especially when they're in the IPF, because they were in the IPF on Friday because of lightning delays or lightning warnings. So we got to be on the field with them instead of on the perch at Hauser overlooking them. So that means we're really close to those screens that they have, like the replay screens for every play they have, and like 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. So not only do you see Darrell Jackson in the immediacy of the play, you get to watch the replay of it like 3 times in a row before they snap the ball again. And he just put on a show. I thought he was probably the best player on the field, at least that I saw, certainly at the line of scrimmage on that day. Tom focused more on Tom was there more for the one-on-ones, while I was charting the receivers and the DBs. But watching the especially the 11-on-11, he stands out. It's not just that body type, because that stands out. He was moving people. He was taking double teams and swallowing them up so Tatum Bethune could run free or Kalen DeLoach could run free. I thought he was exceptional. I thought he was really, really impressive. But again, I wanted to stick with, because I knew Tom was going to be writing about him. So I stuck with Johnny and Jordan. They were great. They did what they always do. They hit big plays. But I thought that was probably, honestly, the headline from the first day in pads. Now, there's a lot more days in pads. There are a lot of very good players on the line of scrimmage both ways for Florida State. But I thought he stole the show on the first day. Okay.
I remember
It's a good sign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say top 5 defense? Question mark? Up there?
We'll see. We'll see. But that, I mean, look, man, the only way to get there, to like have an actual good to great defense, is to be good up front. And that guy, because he's not the Braden Fisk, right?
Right.
He's not the guy that's come, or the Jeremiah Byers on the other side of the ball. Like Darrell Jackson, we know he's good. Like we know he's a solid player. But if he's going to dominate, if he's going to be unblockable, again, it was one day, though, folks. It was one day, and he was sometimes going up against guys that might not be at those positions as we move on and as we get to the season. But either way, he was just, anytime he got single blocked, he was winning. And when he got double teamed, he was keeping the other guy from leaving the block to go get the linebacker, meaning the linebacker, like I said, the linebacker got to run free. But the point being, he's not even like the big name that they got on the defensive side of the ball. So if he can turn out to be, let's just say, an NFL dude to go along with some other guys that you're pretty sure are already NFL dudes, and he's your third guy, he might end up being your best defensive tackle. Who knows? But you've got 3 or 4 guys now that are going to be really hard to deal with if they can stay healthy. That is a really, really good sign. But you know what, Aslan? It's also the middle of March. So we got 6 months until it really matters.
Yeah, he's an interesting case study because he has built the absolute prototypical build of what you want on an interior defensive lineman. I remember going into the Miami game last year and just thinking about, his ties to the area. He's going to play up in that game, and he's something that you have to worry about when you're playing that Miami defense. And listen, there's 10 other guys that didn't perform well that day. Shoot, I don't know, 18, however many they rolled out there. Kevin Steele did so bad that he left. He fled Miami. Yeah, Chlorogale was Kevin Steele, but
didn't want any more of that, did he?
Yeah, if he can tap into it, if Odell can unlock something in him in this kind of money year possibly for him, yeah, that changes a lot. Because I like the way the cornerbacks are playing. It's hard to really gauge safety play in those movements and in those sort of scenarios that we're seeing so far. But we'll get to see more of it as they return next Tuesday. But I like the way the cornerbacks are playing. And I like that defensive line. It just makes you think, all right, they're going to be all right. They'll be just fine here.
Yeah. Again, injuries are everything, but that let's say front eight. The starting four and then the backups on the defensive line, rotating those guys in, that could be a really interesting defensive line, like literally one of the better ones in the conference. And it's been a long time, maybe the country, I don't know, but it certainly should be one of the better ones in the conference. And there was another play where Patrick Payton just sprinted past Jeremiah Byers to get a sack. And Jeremiah Byers, we don't know what he's going to play at Florida State. He might end up being a guard. In fact, he probably will be, but they're working him everywhere, just like they're working Casey Roddick at center. But they can play multiple positions. But watching Peyton sprint past Jeremiah Byers really quickly, and Byers is a guy that I think will play on Sundays at least one position. It's like, man, okay, now what if Patrick Payton takes a step? A figurative step. Obviously, he took many steps to get the sack on Jordan Travis, but takes a figurative step and becomes a, pseudo-dominant, like a Jared Verse light to go along with Jared Verse. And then let's say Darrell Jackson is as good as Fabian Lovett. And let's say Braden Fisk is better than both of them. Barely, but by degrees, And then Josh Farmer takes another step. Man, okay. McClendon's a solid player. The Edmond kid has been impressive to me through the first week, just the way he moves, and I thought he performed well with the pads on. Now you're like, all right, man. You got 8 guys that you can count on. You're not throwing in guys that don't belong on a football field right now against certain competition. And because of, the way the roster was made up or because of injury, they've had to do that in recent years, even last year. Josh Farmer wasn't ready last year. Patrick Payton, quite frankly, wasn't ready to have to play so many snaps in the Louisville game. But now they're not those guys anymore. And that's just, it's really, it gets you excited about what that defense can be if that front 8 stays relatively healthy. Because they can, imagine Fabian Lovett only having to play 38 snaps. But with ferocity.
Yeah.
Man, because... No, it's easy to remember how bad the defense was those last 2 games. Well, Fabian wasn't himself against Florida, clearly, even though he played a ton of snaps. He didn't even play against Oklahoma. Now, remember what that defensive line looked like against LSU when they really tried to run the ball, and they could not. Fabian Lovett controlled the line of scrimmage. He controlled him. These 2 guys, Jackson and Fisk, might be better than him. And so, are at least as good instead of it was Fabian Lovett and not much else last year in the interior. Now you've really upgraded there, really upgraded. So yeah, excited. You can tell I'm excited, Aslan. Yeah. Maybe it's just that cruise. Maybe I just got the cruise on my mind and I'm all bubbly and energetic.
Jared Verse anecdote. So you always wonder about the scouting combine for the NFL draft and how much can you really gauge from these guys being in underwear Olympics or whatever they want to call it. But being able to be in the IPF, as Corey said, and being on the field and not, 30 feet up in the air and 200 yards away, or not 200 yards away, but, we're a little bit further away, obviously, at Hauser. I was able to watch the defensive line go through drills where it's 4 dummies and, you're chopping your feet, you're smacking the dummy, and there's another one by it, you chop your feet again, you smack it again. It's all about hand movement and then ripping, and then Odell just yelling at you the whole time. And, the whole defensive line goes through the drill. That large human being from Rhode Island actually moved pretty good through it. You talked about just adding more depth and just giving you better looks on scout or whatever you want to do. And he's doing a really good job. And you see some of these other guys going through well, that's really nice. Briggs goes through it. Briggs does such a good job. They stop everybody because he was one of the last ones in line. They stopped everybody, had them look at Dennis and had Dennis go through it again. And you're like, oh, wow, Dennis Briggs is – and you could tell. You could tell the way that Dennis Briggs had moved through that drill was significantly more efficient, cleaner, smoother than everybody else had gone before him. And then Jared Verse goes again to start the next round. And you're like, oh, this is what people see at scouting combines. This is what people see at these, whatever, when they start giving out 5-stars to these combines for the high school kids, Indianapolis when it comes to the NFL. Just the way that, like, not one single movement, muscle, fiber, twitch wasted with Jared Verse. And you want to talk about Fabian Lovett not being himself the last few games of the season that we saw him. Man, Jared Verse is a guy that toughed it out to a large degree last year. I mean, even those few snaps that he was able to get in against Wake Forest, he was so disruptive. And he was never the same after that Boston College game or whatever it was that he got nicked up. The thing about him performing at the level that he showed, he is absolutely on a different level than everybody else when it comes to defensive line. Like, that's what just has to be kind of psyched too, because we saw some of it, right, Corey? We obviously saw. We believe what Jared Verse can be. We heard all the mock drafts that he was going to put his name into it. But, man, if he can stay healthy, 13 weeks of that guy, 12 regular season games, I don't know if he's going to break records here, maybe he is going to be an absolute nightmare for everybody else and a dream to watch on Saturdays for us. That's what got me stoked the most watching on Friday.
Yeah, it reminded you, kind of what he was like. Remember last year, like we were cautioning people, like, look, he's not going to be Jermaine Johnson, but he's a freak athletically. It's not that you forgot that Jared Verse was a freak athletically, but until you see it up close in person at full speed, like we did, say, August 10th, that's what we were telling people. It's like, man, this isn't normal. This size and this athleticism isn't normal. Now, he's still got to learn the position. That's what we were cautioning people on. Like, look, he played 1 year at Albany. This is going to be a huge leap for him. Don't expect, 2 sacks and a blocked field goal against LSU. I guess he's pretty good at this level. And then he got hurt the very next week, and that was it. That wasn't it. He came back, but he clearly wasn't himself. And I shouldn't even say clearly, because you watch like that, the end of the Oklahoma game where he gets that sack. Man, that's a lightning quick move. But he still wasn't healthy. He was never allowed to fully heal because he came back so quick. I think he only missed a week, right? Yep. He might have missed the Boston College game and then came back after that and was playing, 40% of the snaps against Boston College or against Wake, and then slowly came back more and more. But he was never 100% healthy. But when he's healthy,
we could see it at practice. We couldn't report everybody, but we noticed at practice.
Yeah, he clearly wasn't healthy. But he's a different kind of dude, man. Like he keeps challenging Jordan Travis and Trey Benson to races. He would lose to Trey Benson, but it would be a lot closer than it should be. You know what I mean? For a guy that's 250 pounds, another guy that's 210. And he'd probably lose to Jordan Travis, but it'd be close. That's how athletic this guy is. Now, he talks like he'd beat him. He's had a year on every time he sees them with the cameras on, he's like, when are we going to race? And I want to be, and I never would because he would throw me into a trash can. It's like, buddy, you've been here over a year. Y'all can't just figure it out, hey, Thursday at noon, I'll meet you at the track. Right. If you really wanted to race him, you'd race him, Jared. That's what I would say if I was Trey Benson. But I'm not, and he would dust me. That's the thing. He's so much bigger than me, and even if I talked some noise to him, I couldn't run away from him. He'd catch me very, very quickly, especially on this bum heel.
Right. Oh, the cruise comes at a perfect time, Corey. Let you heal up.
It does. A little relax it. Give it a little break for a second.
The other note I wrote down defensively, Travis Jay had an incredible play in one-on-ones where it was on Winston Wright. Winston Wright had his back upfield. I think it was like he ran a sideline route, an out route, and he catches the ball, and as soon as he tries to turn upfield, Travis Jay in just one fluid motion comes over the top and punches the ball out, secures it in a strip, and then runs it back. And it was one-on-one, so they were not keeping score or anything like that. But if that would have happened in a real game in that sort of situation, it would have been a pick six. Yeah, I don't know if they call that. It's not a scoop and score because the ball didn't hit the ground.
Or a fumble. I don't know. Would it be a forced fumble or would it be an interception?
I don't know. We'll have to see, Travis. Do it on Saturday. We'll see how they score it officially up there in the press box. But that was a really good thing to see. And then we asked Norvell about it after practice, and he mentioned obviously it's a huge spring for him, huge opportunity. So those are the good things you want to hear. And then offensively, man, it was Johnny and Jordan for me. The notes I wrote down. There's some drops earlier on, I think, for Johnny, but when he started coming down to the more competitive reps of the day, he just showed what he's all about. what I wrote down was Johnny runs skinny post. No, he actually goes on the inside. The route is just too easy for him. Because I want to almost ask for all 22 because I don't know how you're going to defend Johnny Wilson at this point because it seems like he's able to get off the press. Like the way he's using his hands to get off on his routes is just on another level right now because I don't even know who was in coverage with him, but they played like, they were 2 yards off him when he was moving in motion. And as he gets off on his route, you're like, okay, he's gonna kind of go on a skinny post and just run up the seam on a deep route. But it's like, no. He sees that you're giving him enough leverage. He's just going to cut it on the inside now and taper the route off. And you're like, man, you can't guard that. Like it's unguardable. It's incredible to watch. He really has taken another step here. And then Jordan is just ridiculous with his accuracy at this point right now. On a throw where he was rolling to his left, Darion Williamson's not even out of his break yet. Jordan gets it out of his hand and puts it pretty much on the boundary, and as soon as Williamson gets out of his break, turns his head around, it's right there, eye level, perfect catch, like 19 yards, 20 yards downfield. So just to underscore offensively what you had seen, Corey. Not that you needed underscoring on your points, but Jordan Travis is really flipping good, and Johnny Wilson, good luck guarding him, everybody. Good luck.
What I thought was interesting and kind of cool was in one-on-ones, I think Azareye'h Thomas had asked, like, I want to go up against 14. I want to go up against Johnny Wilson because he had the first 2 reps of the game of the drill, and Johnny beat him both times. One was like a back shoulder. No, one was like, man, it's just again when you talk about Jared Verse. Look, folks, I shouldn't say there are a lot of guys that are 6'7", but we've seen 6'7" guys on a football field before. What makes Johnny Wilson so unique is he moves like a 6'1" guy. Now, he doesn't have top-end speed. He's not going to run a 4.25. But off the line of scrimmage, Azareye'h Thomas is a ridiculous athlete. And he shook him like he was standing still. Like, Azareye'h Thomas tried to hang with him and tried to bump him, and Johnny Wilson made a quick move outside, right back in, got around him, got by him, and then made another move where he kind of hesitated toward the right and then cut back in the middle and had huge separation. And then the next time they went up against each other, my man ran right by him. And the thing about Johnny Wilson is, you might say, Azareye'h Thomas in a race can catch up with can beat Johnny Wilson probably. But when Johnny Wilson gets a step or two on you and he has those long strides and he is he's at his full top speed, he's running away from these guys. Like, because it's just those long strides, man. He's really hard to catch up with if you're a step behind him. If you're a step behind him and you're 6'1" and he's 6'7", you're really 2.5 steps behind him. And he just got more and more separation, and Jordan made a great throw, put it right on him for an easy completion 50 yards downfield. And what I liked is that Azareye'h was taking that challenge. Like, it'd be easy to say, no, I want to cover a tight end right now. But no, he wants to go up against the best that Florida State has. And he got abused pretty good those first 2 reps, and then he came back on his next rep, not against Johnny, but Kentron maybe, and made a really good breakup on a back shoulder throw down the sideline. Like, played it all the way to the ground and ripped it out at the end. Competed, which was really good to see because there's going to be growing pains when you're going up against Johnny. But yeah, man, and Jordan made a throw to Toafili. Toafili was really covered well, like 14, 15 yards downfield by a linebacker, and Jordan put it like on his back hip, the only place he could put it on him, where the linebacker had no chance. Like, he just threw it literally on his back hip, where Toafili really had no choice but to catch it. And then the DB, or the linebacker, had no chance. There was nothing he could do. It was great coverage. It was just a better throw. And there's been a lot of that through the first week. But yeah, they're good. What else is new? That's why you guys come here. Breaking news. Jordan Travis and Johnny Wilson are pretty good football players.
On the kicking front, I look downfield. I think usually they each kick 2. I think usually in that period, I only got to see the final kick from each. Fitzgerald hit his. Keltner did not.
Correct.
So we continue to track this kicking competition.
The first one with Fitzgerald was it was either a bad snap or a drop snap, and then Mastromano had to improvise and try to throw a pass, and Kalen DeLoach intercepted it. I personally thought Mastromano, with all that extra added muscle and weight, should have just tucked it and ran, but he didn't. He decided to throw it, and it was intercepted. And then Keltner missed. What bothered me a little bit about Keltner, and look, we're allowed to watch this, so we can comment on it. His last attempt of the day on Friday was a 46-yarder that was not only left, I think, but was also short.
Oh,
it was also
it?
short.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, we've seen his leg, so we know he can get it there. But that was not a great attempt at the end of the day, at the end of the week, going into a spring break for him. That was a little disappointing. But hey, as we talked about before practice even started, the job will not be won in March.
Sounds like Tyler Keller could use some vitamin energy in his day, Corey, right? A little bit of boost.
Amen, brother.
VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WARCHANT, BOGO. That's for our valued listeners here on the program via the FSU alums over at VitaminEnergy.com, giving you buy one, get one free status. So add anything into your cart off of VitaminEnergy.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT, BOGO. You'll get an item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. The Vitamin Energy B12, 14,000 in the pink berry is what your boy is hitting, so I really can't talk down about getting a spray tan. I'm drinking the pink berry. I love it. Not only the 260 milligrams of natural caffeine in this bad boy, Corey, we got a little bit of taurine, 1,500 micrograms of taurine, which helps the heart and the brain, supports nerve growth according to WebMD, and is also thought to have antioxidant properties according to the Mayo Clinic. It's not just juice to get you going throughout the day, folks. It's got vitamins, too. It's at the beginning of the name, vitaminenergy.com. Are you going to take some of these on board, Corey, in case you have a little bit of a sluggish day at sea, you need a little pep in the step there, our first mate?
Absolutely. Okay. Of course I am, man. That's the only number one, I don't want to be drowsy at all when I'm on the boat. I want to be active, I want to be going. I'm going to try not to sleep at all.
Okay, all right.
72 hours awake.
So
how many would I have to take? 10?
10. Piece of cake, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty easy math.
Economical, exactly. VitaminEnergy.com. The promo code is WARCHANT, BOGO. Shake it, take it, folks. Recruiting update with Mycah Langston coming up right after this. Speaking of recruiting chats, might need to do another one of those this week, Michael. We might do it on Wake Up, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, Luke, by the way, Luke Cromoke's already told me Luke will be on the show. So we got Luke locked down that we can do it Wednesday. So there you go.
Let's bring Luke on the program then. All right, man, let's get to it, man. You've had an extremely, extremely busy weekend, so we don't want to keep you here any longer than you have to. Lots of big-time recruits on campus for the Legacy Weekend. I don't want to rank these guys, man, but shoot, Charles Lester is just peeking over the fence at that 5-star ranking, man. He was here this past weekend, Michael. I don't keep track of the RPM, the recruiting prediction machine, all that much, but man, he is, if you're watching on the video version of this, you see that he is 86% leaning towards Florida State, according to the prognosticators out there. I don't think the number was that big. Did anything happen this past weekend, Michael, to change the relationship between Charles Lester III, a cornerback out of Riverview High School, and Florida State?
I would say this weekend was a little bit different vibe around him because it was like the first time he actually mentioned committing. So he mentioned committing. I think, and he's mentioned before, like, hey, it's going to be in the fall. I think it's actually going to be in the summer now. Things are speeding up. He told me after the visit, he was like, man, I almost committed, like right there. So he's very close to committing. I'm going to put in an RPM pick for FSU probably late tonight or, soon. I think it's going to be FSU. I'm not going to sugarcoat with you guys. I think FSU is going to be the choice. I think the addition of Surtain has made this thing complete as far as what FSU need to do. Just it's a different feeling. Like I said, there's some kids that say they grow up fans and they're just kind of little fans. This kid's in the Derwin James type of fan club where, he lives and breathes FSU. He loves everything about FSU. And I just think the only thing he's going to do is take some officials. I think he's going to go to FSU last for official visit. I think maybe go Ohio State and Georgia as well. I just think there's not enough to even – I don't think there's anything can change his mind based on what FSU does. When you feel a certain way when you're on campus, that's just – I just can't see somebody replicating that for what FSU's done.
All right. Again, Charles Lester ranked the number 21 overall prospect in the entire country for this upcoming cycle. Number 3 cornerback, number 6 prospect in the state of Florida, 6'2", 171 out of Riverview down there in Sarasota. Michael, a tough place to pull projects or rather prospects out of is the state of Mississippi. I know Alabama might be trying to kick the tires around a guy like Charles Lester, but for Florida State to go into a place like Mississippi and pull out a guy is always a tall task, but we saw them get Quindarius Jones this past season.
Mm-hmm.
Any hopes that they made inroads with big bad Cam Franklin?
When I saw that, told that Cam Franklin was coming over for a game, it's like, okay, he visited last year. I'm kind of like, oh, whatever. Mississippi kid, they're not getting that kid. Kid's like going to be a 5-star. I mean, FSU's chances of usually doing that is low. But then I talked to some people around Cam Franklin that are close to him, and they're like, man, FSU's done one of the best jobs recruiting him. The way they presented what their program is, that they feel like all around FSU's done one of the best jobs, if not the best. So then he visited this weekend. Obviously, people could see the story we did on the front page of with Cam, and mentioned 3 or 4 times how he could see himself there. I think a big attraction too with him is FSU's likely going to lose a few guys on that defensive end front after this year. He loves what he sees in the defensive line. I think there's a special, unique connection he feels where when he's at FSU, where it's just different. Where when he visits Mississippi or Alabama or Mississippi State, I think it's just a different feeling when he's on that campus. It's very, I think, relaxed, chill, and I think that kind of vibe fits him. And then the other thing is FSU is really hard and straightforward. Like, hey, this is what it is here, man. If you don't want to be here, then if this isn't for you, then hey, FSU isn't for you. So they were very direct, and talked about things that were the negative about FSU. Where he told me, he's like, I've never had a coach do that before, and I think there's certainly FSU is certainly a real threat in this recruitment based on the intel I'm getting from people from inside his camp and in Mississippi.
Yeah, Kamarion Franklin, 6'5", 260 out of Lake Cormorant High School there in Mississippi, man. Shades of Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, the kind of prospect that's come through high end out of Mississippi the last few years. Those guys did stay in state. But hopefully Mike Norvell, Odell Higgins, Adam Fuller can work their magic and lure him back here. Florida State was able to get a Swede on their staff, or rather on the roster here this past cycle with Lucas Simmons, Clearwater International Academy, or
Clearwater International Academy. Yep.
Boom, crushed it. They've got another guy down there, apparently big human being, and big good feelings between he and Florida State. It sounds like, Michael, right?
Yeah, Jason Zandamela. I said FSU is the favorite going in. This is another one I'm going to put. I'm going to put about 2 or 3 RPM picks soon. This is another one I'm going to put an RPM pick for FSU. Felt like even going into it that FSU was the overwhelming favorite. I remember talking to Lucas about Jason. He would tell me like, oh, he feels the same way I do, about FSU. So I knew things were trending in the best direction. And, once again, I mean, when Alex Atkins is got the hooks in, it's really hard, to beat what FSU offers. It's pretty clear that FSU likes him at center. He covets center, so he loves playing center. So I think that's where FSU's kind of focused their attention with his game on. He's coming back for the spring game. I think you should watch for that as far as him popping that weekend. I have a feeling he wants to do it before his season starts. He even mentioned it's going to be tough. He originally wants to commit in July, but I think that process is going to speed up a little bit because he likes FSU so much that he's been to FSU 3 or 4 or 5 times. So I think that's a big deal for him, that the connection. I think relationships is a big deal with him, and then in development. He's seen what Atkins has done, not only with Lucas in a short time, but just overall in general with this offensive line. And I think he loves just the personality of how the way Alex teaches things. He knows Alex is really hard on his players, and I think this is another one that I think they're going to pull. And I've said this before in our recruiting chat, man. There's probably 3 or 4, maybe up to 5 guys that I feel that visited this weekend on Friday and Saturday that are going to be in this class. I might drop a nugget or 2 later in the week of who those guys I think they are, but I think it's an extremely positive weekend, and I think Jason's only a piece of the good news for FSU.
Nuggets are for the subscribers, y'all. Subscribe to warchant.com, the Ultimate Seminoles Sports Source. All the recruiting stuff going down at the PRB all times, all hours of the day. Michael's got you connected over there. Jason Zandamela, 6'2.5", 260 according to his bio. And it's my bad. It's Clearwater Academy International, which sounds weird, but you realize if they were called Clearwater International Academy, they would be CIA.
That's true.
probably not cool. Probably some people up in Langley not cool with that. So
Great,
keep your eyes
great,
out for
hey,
that one.
great program too, by the way. Very similar to some of the stuff that IMG does. So great place, great development. Coach Meyer does a great job there.
Pinellas County, stand up, 727.
Shout out.
On your way out, though, Michael, backers. How about linebackers? That's, Florida State for so long has been struggling offensive line. That now seems to be a strong point of this program. Wide receiver, they were lacking talent. They poured into the portal and made all that sort of stuff happen. But linebacker still seems to be that one position, whether it's portal or high school, and we know Blake Nicholson's on his way, that maybe some fans out there want to see a little bit more out of when it comes to the recruiting efforts. What did Florida State accomplish this weekend, do you think, when it comes to recruiting some linebackers?
Tell you, man, this is the best group I've seen them have in since Randy Shannon's been there. You had 4-star linebacker Jaden Perlot. I hope I'm saying that right. I think that's the way he told me he was saying. 2025 linebacker. It's committed to Georgia and probably going to be a 5-star linebacker when it's all said and done. When those rankings come finalized, when they do position rankings, yeah, I was stunned how long FSU had been on this recruitment. For a while that you mentioned, like FSU's been recruiting him since he was in 8th grade. He's really been wanting to get over here. Actually went to the LSU FSU game. So he understands what they're doing. And he definitely gave the body language of a guy that could eventually flip if things keep maturating with developing with the relationship with FSU. And certainly they made a big impression on that first visit. He loved how direct Norvell was. We did an article this morning on his visit, and he certainly raved about both Randy Shannon, really raved about Norvell. He could tell he likes the way he does things. We hear that a lot all the weekend about likes how honest and genuine these guys are about the good and the bad with FSU. So that really, I think, jumped out to him. Certainly their product on the field of what they're doing. He's actually going to attend the LSU FSU game in Orlando. So that kind of tells you this interest is pretty serious. So that's another guy. I think another guy that they like is Peyton Pierce out of Lovejoy in Texas. Shout out to the Lone Star State. Guy that's a 4-star linebacker. I thought going in it was Ohio State and Notre Dame. I would put FSU right there, even with those guys, because of what they did this weekend. He mentioned a pretty cool moment of how Randy Shannon told him to pick a team, and he kind of pick an NFL team, and he broke down the scheme of what they are and how he would fit into that scheme of what he would do and responsibilities in that. And so that really jumped out to Peyton about the knowledge Randy has at the linebacker position. He certainly really connected with Mike Norvell throughout the visit. I think FSU's right up there. He's going to come back in the late spring, and he's going to officially visit FSU. So that's a guy that I think, it's amazing how things are starting to slightly shift the way we're seeing with linebackers recruiting. You had Blake Nicholson last year, but there wasn't a lot outside of Blake with like high-ranked guys. But that's not the case this year, man. There's a lot of guys. Certainly had a lot of talent on hand this weekend with all these linebackers. So it's certainly it feels like with the tight end position and also the linebacker position, we're seeing a lot more heavy, top-rated guys that are now checking out FSU, and not just checking them out, certainly giving them coveted responses when it comes to these visits and the impact they're making on their recruitment.
Yeah, Peyton Pierce, 6'1", 210 linebacker, again, out of Lovejoy in Lucas, Texas. Notre Dame high on his list there. Obviously, Marcus Freeman's done a pretty good job there his first year in Notre Dame, defensive-minded guy. So if he's on a guy like Peyton Pierce, you're in the right sort of pond, if you will.
Yep.
Michael, what else is going to be going on over on the premium recruiting board? I feel like we're going to lean on you heavily now with spring break being in progress and the team not practicing for another 11 days or so.
Well, it's kind of hard right now. I have another notebook coming up. I've already hinted to people that we will have another notebook. Two top 25 elite guys now have FSU at number 1. I'll cover that. I'll cover some top wide receivers in the 2024 class. It'll be in there as well. The one point we didn't mention was running back Cam Davis. It's going to shut down his recruitment. That's a major development for FSU. He told the media after his visit that he feels like, it's a waste of time or it's too late for other schools. So that's a big deal with Cam, getting him locked up. Got that coming up. Ira just posted my Luke Cromahoke story of him recruiting Man, that guy is I was busy. I think Luke was just as busy as I was. He hit up all these guys. So we'll have a lot more of that stuff coming up. Unfortunately for me, it's kind of like what you're going through. Recruiting is kind of going to be a little slow for 2 weeks because it's spring break. There might be some guys that dip in on tours and stuff, but outside of that, I have the big exclusive hot board coming up, guys. Get ready, 2024. I'm going to work on that and finish that up tonight. We're going to start releasing that next week, so we'll have a lot of stuff, both with the notebook on the Legacy event, plus my hot board. We'll be releasing that all week, so you'll get to see all the top prospects, who they are. So until we get to late March, and then the things will heat up again with the spring game coming up in April.
What spring break, y'all? We're out here working for you. Mycah Langston, recruiting analyst for warchant.com. Michael, as always, thank you, man.
My pleasure, man.
The My Bracket contest over at MyBookie with $150,000 American dollars up for grabs is underway. The ACC with 5 teams in the tourney, Corey, 7 from the Big 12, and then the SEC.
The Noles did not make it.
Some say
Right.
controversially.
Yeah, it was a snub. If there was ever been a snub, that was it for sure.
Lines will be leaking out here, I'm sure, soon enough, and you're going to want to do it over at mybookie.ag, and you're going to want to use the promo code WARCHANT. That way you get a cash deposit bonus. Lets you put more money on some of these parlays. If you're going to be adventurous like I am, you got to pair it with an underdog, put it on the money line, then put 3 other games that you're fairly confident about on the favorite, and that's where you can find your value on this. Anything stand out to you in the bracket, Corey, like a big-time buster? I know a lot of people saying Louisiana to upset Tennessee in what I think is a 4-13 matchup. And then there's always like the in vogue 5-12s. I think VCU over St. Mary's is one of them. I think even Drake beating Miami is one of the in vogue picks as well. You'll be filling out your bracket over at MyBookie, I assume. Anything stand out to you in the bracket you see?
No.
Okay.
No. But I just want to say that I called a shot again with Pitt and Duke on our last show. I'm
Yes.
I'm dumb, but I think Duke should probably win that game by more than 5.5, and Duke hammered them. So, by the way, I got a gripe with these selection shows as I watch the women's selection show right now on ESPN as we record this. Why do we have to watch every team find out where they are? Like
Stop it! You have no joy.
No.
In your heart?
Here's the thing. They just showed UCLA. UCLA's a 4 seed. In the women on the UCLA's team, when they showed their bracket and then flashed to their watch party, all got up and hugged like they were a bubble team. Like, oh, we get to keep playing, or we just won a championship. It's like you're a 4 seed. You knew you were going to be in the tournament, and you knew you were going to be a high seed. So are they doing it for us? Are they doing it for our purpose? Like, well, we feel like we got to perform here because we got a camera on us, so let's all jump up and stand up. And every scene is the same. They're sitting down mostly. They flash to them as soon as they see their name come up, and this is the men and women.
We've all seen these, Corey. We know what you're talking about. It's a
Right.
read.
Well, why do we have to keep seeing it? They stand up and cheer. Great. Awesome. I would have wanted to see Pitt's reaction when they realized they were in the first 4. Or the last 4 in. You know what I mean? I want to see that.
Yeah.
That's a real reaction. That's real human emotion. You're going to see somebody throw their cup across the room. You're going to see other people celebrate because they're in. That's real emotion, man. Not, oh, look, Alabama's happy. Guys, look, they're standing up and cheering. They're the number 1 overall seed. The Crimson Tide, they're happy.
Real human emotion is the sweat, the anxiety, and the joy and the fulfillment of nailing your bet. Do it over at mybookie.ag. Use the promo
Sorry,
code
MyBookie.
WARCHANT. Legacy Weekend, Corey. We heard Mycah Langston talk about it earlier when it comes to the recruiting aspect. Jermaine Johnson, his brick being unveiled, Jameis being in town. I don't know. Did you watch a video from Friday, the first pitch? Jameis, Bubby, come on, man.
I thought Buster's kid had a better first pitch. Just saying. Just throwing that out. Well,
you're not wrong.
Jameis had a little more on it, but yeah, man, I thought Buster's kid, he needs to come to Florida State for sure. And Jameis's little brother got
Jonah got
offered.
that offer.
Yeah. Oh boy, man, are we getting old?
Man, it was awesome to see Jameis out there, though. Despite the pitch, the animals were yelling, "Hey, Jameis, give us a Noles cheer!" And then they did that for Buster like 4 times, and Buster didn't get the memo. And Buster just went into the dugout, went back home after he was done with his ceremony. He stuck around for the game. So did Jameis. But yeah, Jameis did the whole Noles cheer for the animals. So that was really cool to see.
I've said this before. If they said, "Hey, Aslan, give us a Noles cheer," would you know how to do it?
No way, not at all.
No chance.
I could do the O and the L maybe, but I don't know how to do a.
I could get my arms up, and then after that, I'm just going to throw 2 punches and kick my left leg.
That's what one of the guys does, though.
I've watched 50 people do it. I still don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand. So that's what I would do. If they ever said, "Hey, Corey, give us a Noles cheer," I'm going to start by throwing my right hand like a punch, then throwing my left arm back up to make like an O, and then kicking my left leg, and then maybe throwing another punch.
Okay. I'm trying to think about
I don't know how to do it.
If you do like the Bengals, like the walk like Egyptian, maybe that's the N, like one fist pointing down, one fist pointing up at right angles.
Oh, okay. All right, like Susanna Hoffs.
Yeah, and the O is easy. The L, the E. I guess you have to contort your body, so you tilt your head to the side.
I think the E is my right. That's my left-handed uppercut.
Okay, well,
when I come back with the E.
Left-handed uppercut, right-handed punch to the gut, and then your head's also tilted, so that's your E. And then the S is just, I guess, the other way of walk like Egyptian, Susanna Hoffs.
But what I thought was cool was I don't think Jameis knew how to do it either.
No, he didn't.
But he did what I would do. That's the first person that I've seen that are like, okay, I could do this. Yeah. Because it looked like he just threw his arms up, threw one punch, and then kicked his leg and did another little punch, and that was it. Because they're going to count it off for you. Right. They're going to do the NOLES. You just got to move your body. Yeah. But yeah, I have no idea what he did or what any of them do. But yeah, you're right, man. It was what a neat weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't know Jermaine Johnson was going to be there for that thing, and I also didn't know that Florida State's doing that now. Like, there's a lot of bricks, and Jameis made that joke in his speech. Was like, I don't remember them doing a brick ceremony for me, which is true. I mean, all those people there, but it's something that they should do.
Yeah. Like,
if you can get the person back, like, it would be cool. And I mean, this was very quickly. This was a year later, but it would be cool to get like Cam Akers back for a brick ceremony, or Jalen Ramsey. I mean, I'm sure he already has one out there, but the next Johnny Wilson in 3 years, or Jordan Travis next year. Like, get them back for a brick ceremony on a recruiting weekend. All the sports could do it on one of their recruiting weekends. So it'd be cool to have 20 people around, and if you can get the player to come back, it's really neat, because it's a really neat thing that Florida State does. I don't know that that's done at many other schools. Like, for the people that don't know what we're talking about, sorry, at the Moore Center, outside the sidewalk, all the All-Americans in Florida State sports history have a brick. So going back to the 50s, for every sport. So there'll be a I don't know what you'd call it. There'd be a panel. There's like one square that has 6 different All-Americans in it.
Yeah.
Surrounded by people like Florida State fans that bought, including my dad, that bought bricks years ago when they were building the brick Doak Campbell and everything else. They were doing all that construction. Alumni and boosters and fans could buy bricks to go around. So my dad's brick is in the middle of a square, or on a square that also has like 4 All-Americans honored in it. And every square has 4 All-Americans honored in a multitude of sports. Like Devin Travis is one, Jonas Blixt, Brooks Koepka, Jalen, like anybody.
Gabby Reese.
Amanda DaCosta from soccer. They're all there. So Jessica Warren, anybody that's won an All-American honor. Jalen Ramsey for track, things like that. So anyway, I thought it was cool that Mike Norvell, like, instead of doing this and just adding it with no hoopla or fanfare at all, let's at least incorporate it into our big recruiting weekend and have Jermaine Johnson come down and get to speak about his brick. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, they had it covered up with fake turf, and then much in the way that you would cut out sod from, say, Boston College, or insert bowl appearance that has indoor field
Miami.
turf.
How about the Hard Rock?
Does Hard Rock? I thought Hard Rock still got real grass.
No, I'm just saying they would cut out the turf.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. You're talking about AstroTurf.
Yeah, so he literally, like, there's fake grass, and he cuts his square of it out, and then underneath that square is his actual brick underneath it. So it also integrates and incorporates the whole sod cemetery tradition as well. So that was really cool to see. And then, Jameis hung around on Saturday too. Like Friday, he threw the first pitch at Hauser, but he hung around Saturday, and was at sort of that commemoration for Jermaine Johnson and was telling to the recruits about Florida State and what it meant to him. So it's really awesome to see him come back and really appreciate, his time here, because it was an interesting time. It was an awesome time, though, but it was interesting as well. And then Saturday.
Well, what I wanted to say about that real quick, it is cool. And again, Jimbo did so much for this program, won a national championship, brought Jameis Winston, brought a lot of guys. But I always got the sense, and this isn't hindsight, I kind of got the sense sometimes that it was they didn't embrace the fans. Jimbo painted the whole, it's us against them, keep the outside noise in and all that. And sometimes it felt like guys from that era, just they were at Florida State for their time. They all liked each other, but the outside Florida State was just noise. And when they went off to the league, they just went off to the league. And it's really cool to see guys like that being reached out to again by Norvell, who has no relationship at all with Jameis, to ask him to come back. And Jameis being willing to do it. It wasn't just transactional. It wasn't just, okay, Jimbo can make me the number one pick in the draft, so I'll come to Florida State. He really, I do think this place means something to him. I think as he gets further and further away from it, all these guys will realize what a special place Florida State is and how much it meant to them. And so it is cool that it's not just, there's Seminoles, right? Like, because sometimes it just felt like it was one step. It was just a step to the final goal, and they didn't maybe feel as connected to the program as I thought they would be. But clearly they are. That was really cool that Jameis came back and not because he played both sports obviously at a really high level, but that he cares enough to he was there talking to 11. And he was there on Saturday helping Norvell recruit kids to Florida State. And also honoring Jermaine Johnson, who apparently he talked to before Jermaine Johnson made that decision. That's really cool to know that Jameis, even though he had no relationship with Norvell at all, cares enough about Florida State that he would help the new coach try to land this big-time defensive end from Georgia and would call him. I assume that's how it went. Maybe it was an email, maybe it was a text, who knows. Or maybe Jameis was joking. But I feel like he said that he recruited Jermaine Johnson. I feel like that's what happened. And that's cool, man, right? It's cool to have that connection to that team, because it wasn't just Jimbo's team. It was Florida State's team. It was the Florida State fans' team. And they want to always feel connected to that group. And it's cool that Jameis was back for it.
And then Buster on Saturday, his jersey retired alongside Mike Martin, J.D. Drew, and Dick Hauser, which is awesome when you think about some of these, you're a big baseball guy, Corey, but I feel like the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame, or whatever the heck you guys call it in Cooperstown, man, like every year I'll see on the bottom line of ESPN, so-and-so is going to be inducted into Cooperstown. I'm like, really? That guy is a Hall of Famer? And then you realize just how difficult it is. There's only 4 dudes now with Buster that have earned that right for Florida State baseball, and just really reminds you just how awesome Buster was, really how awesome this baseball program is. And he's another guy that really seemed genuinely happy to be back in Tallahassee. Said he hadn't been back in a long time, and just really the affinity he had for Mike that he has for Mike Martin is really genuine. You can kind of hear that in some of his questions. He pointed it out at the podium. When everyone's there to watch Buster, Link Jarrett's sitting down next to him. His family's there. Mike Martin's seated next to him, and he points out, he's like, "Listen, Mike Martin's the best college baseball coach ever." You can really feel kind of that admiration he had for him, how important and instrumental Mike Martin was into getting him to Tallahassee. And again, just makes you, I don't know, we're really spoiled sometimes by a lot of great programs, have a lot of great players come through their schools. But, man, when you think about guys of the caliber of what Jameis did in 2013, what Buster did here, and what Buster did at the next level, obviously, man, what a really special place and a really cool weekend, to your point about just having everybody back. But I wish you would have been here to see Buster, man. You guys go way back.
That's right. I don't know that he would remember me at all. Yeah. That was more of a Steve Ellis. That was Steve Ellis here. I helped out on baseball that year, but that was all. By the way, I think I've told this story before, but Steve Ellis, who I worked with at the Democrat, longtime Florida State writer, started up the Osceola way back when in the 80s, and then worked at the Democrat for a long time. He was at the Democrat when I joined the Democrat sports staff, and he passed away in 2009. And Buster Posey was a rookie. I think it was, I can't remember when, it must have been the fall, but still Buster was not in Tallahassee. He did not live in Tallahassee. He drove down for Steve Ellis's funeral. I'll never, ever forget that. And he didn't, it's not like he came in and glad-handed. He kind of sat in the back, didn't say anything, just wanted to be there. And that always stood out to me. That always meant something to me that Buster did that when he hadn't, he wasn't, it wasn't like, I'm going to stop by this funeral. It's 5 minutes away. I think he drove down from Leesburg to be there. And it was, it was really cool. And Buster's one of the all-time greats, clearly, and one of the all-time great ambassadors for Florida State. And it was really neat that 11 was out there and that Buster got to honor him. I don't know how many more times 11 will be out in the middle of the field getting to tip his cap to the crowd. And the fact that he got to do it with his all-time most famous protege being honored and having his number right next to his on the left field wall was really neat. That's a cool moment. Now, some could say Florida State's really stingy with those numbers. I mean, good grief. You got 22 first-round picks in your career in the history of the program and 2 retired numbers. I mean, you got like 5 Golden Spikes winners and only 2. That's like the Heisman for college baseball, and only 2 retired numbers. So, but hey, if you're going to only retire 2, J.D. Drew and Buster Posey's pretty cool. But yeah, overall, what a neat weekend. I want to go back real quick. That's the kind of stuff, and Jameis even brought it up when he was half joking about where was my ceremony when I got my brick. That's the kind of next level thinking that really is cool by Norvell, right? Like, yes, I can be cynical about it and say, well, he did it because he wanted his only first-round draft pick at Florida State to be here on a really big recruiting weekend, granted, and this was a good way to do it. But it's next-level thinking, I think, to like, this is a cool thing that Florida State does. Let's incorporate it into an event where all these guys want to be where Jermaine Johnson is and where Jameis Winston is, and let's have them see how we honor our great players. Yeah. We don't just slap a brick in a parking lot and don't tell anybody about it. We make it a thing because it should be a thing. So I thought I didn't know that was happening. They didn't. Maybe they publicized it and I just didn't get the memo. But that was a really neat thing that they did. I hope they continue to do that. And that wasn't just, hey, Jermaine might be in town. Let's let him be here for his brick. I think anytime they give a brick to somebody from the football team, really, honestly, any athletic team at Florida State, they should at least invite the person down and do a ceremony for him. And maybe they do, and I just didn't know about it.
Maybe they're doing a Hall of Fame weekend or whatever. Who knows? But
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think it's also the athletic administration, the athletic department as a whole, kind of getting with the times and doing this stuff because for so long Florida State was, very mom and pop and, was very insulated from what else was going out there in the college landscape. And we didn't have a lot of big, bright ideas because everything was kind of in-house and, you were an intern here and then you stayed around here and you didn't really see a lot of other places in the way they did things. And then Michael Alford bringing those sort of concepts here and then the whole thing with, obviously butting it together with Buster was a huge deal, I thought. And then obviously they did their part, the baseball team winning out the series. Sunday's game was shortened due to rain in the area. I don't know if they call it final through 7. It was in the bottom of the 8th when they called the game, so they didn't play 8 full. But the game was official. 8-6, Pitt won that. But Florida State did win the series. Wyatt Crowell, I think he had 10 strikeouts on 100 pitches Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Friday, Jackson Baumeister and Connor Whitaker did enough, as well as who else came out of the bullpen? That went to 12 innings. That was the whole entire thing.
Well, Friday,
Kirkland came in for a minute, but then Kirkland didn't finish it out. Jamie Arnold, I think you're right. Yeah, Jamie Arnold. Jordan Carry-On with a walk-off single in extras in 12 innings. So they're finding their feet. I don't know how good of a team Pitt is. They're going to be in UCF this week for a Tuesday, Wednesday series, if you want to call it that. Then they got Boston College. But I like the way the schedule's worked out. We'll learn more about the team as it goes throughout this part of March. But they won their first series of the ACC play, so that's a big deal, obviously. And James Tibbs showing some of his powers, tapping back in. Jaime Frere had a really good game on Sunday as well. I like what they can become, Corey. The one thing I am optimistic about, I always will be for whatever reason, is the baseball team when it comes to March and April. I'm there right now. I like the way they were able to kind of perform this weekend throughout most of it. Anything stand out to you or anything becoming an increasing problem for you or worrisome?
I wonder about Montgomery. I don't know what to make of that Sunday performance. Florida State gave him a 2-0 lead in the first. He immediately gave up the lead right back. Then they gave him a 5-2 lead going into the third. He immediately gave up 2 runs right back. Now he ended up going 5, but he gave up the lead 3 different times, or twice, I guess. He then gave up a 2-out double in the 5th. He did strike out the side in his last inning, but he also gave up a 2-run or an RBI double. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to end up. If he's just going to be the Sunday starter and he's going to give up 4 or 5 runs every time he pitches, I don't think that's good enough at Florida State, but I could be wrong. I think, I wouldn't, there's a chance maybe you look at him. If he continues, that's two bad starts in a row, bad to mediocre. If he has another bad to mediocre start, maybe you think about moving him as a short-term relief guy because he seems to do well in his first inning anyway. And I think as a reliever, especially late-inning reliever, that 96 with the adrenaline maybe becomes 98.
Wasn't he
and
doing
maybe
that? Wasn't he doing that last year? Like, I remember him coming in against Georgia Southern or someone in extra innings towards the end of last year, and we're like, all right, man, this is what he is. Like,
I think so. It's hard to remember the last couple baseball years, man. They all kind of run together. But, look, I think the thing that worries me the most about this team is the depth of pitching. But you've got a lights-out dude in Crowell. I mean, you've just got one of the best in the country. And the offense was not good this weekend. Wasn't terrible, but wasn't doing what it had been doing. It had been scoring 10 runs a game, and that dried up real quick. Did enough to win 2 of the 3, but they scored 8 runs in those 2 games in 20 innings. And but the pitching was good enough. Pitching and defense was good enough. And then, it's kind of a bummer on Sunday because it was 8-6. They had 6 outs left. And, it's Hauser. There's some magic in that place, and it's Pitt, so I don't think they have a first-round closer. You had a chance with your offense to maybe make some noise and have some magic happen the last 2 innings, and you need to get a chance because of the weather. So that was a bummer, but, what are you going to do? You won the series. If that had happened on Saturday, if they were losing 8, they would have just postponed it and finished it up on Sunday, I think. But since it was the last game of the series, they just called the game, and that's kind of a a bummer for Florida State. But they still won the series. They've won every series but one. They're 11-4. Probably should remain ranked. Hey, shout out by the way to FAMU. Won one of the games against Florida Gulf Coast this weekend. And really should have won the game on Saturday. They had a 1-run lead going in the 9th and gave it up. So they came really close to winning the series against Florida Gulf Coast and then got hammered pretty good on Sunday. But still, winning 1 of 3 against Florida Gulf Coast and almost winning the other one, that's a good showing for the Rattlers.
Yeah. Take that, Dong City.
Yeah. Did you like that? Did you like that, Dong City? I don't think you did.
Speaking of the tournament, which is funny because I don't know how we're going to edit this show, but Corey went on this real strong riff about celebrating when you're selected for the tournament. The women, the ladies of Florida State, they're in the tournament. Corey, you saw the entire thing unfold. Talk to us about it.
They're playing Georgia on Friday. They're the 7. Georgia is the 10. And if they beat Georgia on Friday, they play Iowa in Iowa City on Sunday. And Iowa has the best player in the country, Caitlin Clark, no relation. And it would be really cool to see her matched up against Latson. They're both guards. Clark is incredible. She's kind of like Steph Curry. Trae Young, actually, because she gets a lot of assists, too. But I was going on the rant about how they showed, literally, there are 68 teams that made the field.
Corey, it's going to work. I'm gonna edit it. It's going to be great. We don't need to do it again. I promise.
Oh, well, no, I do want to say this, though, that they showed 68 teams with a reaction doing the Dougie or whatever that dance is that everybody loves.
The gritty?
The greedy, yeah, the Dougie. What is that? That's a dance from 15 years ago, right? Yeah, that's perfect that I made that mistake. So all 68 teams had a reaction, all of them. They flashed to Florida State, sitting in a local restaurant, nothing. I don't even know that they knew they were on TV. So 1 out of the 68 teams had a reaction, did not have a reaction. It was Florida State. Not only that, I'll let everybody know, peek behind the curtain. We were recording the show. We were done.
Yeah.
It was like 8:06. And I'm like, hey, man, the selection show just started. Let's see where Florida State is so we can add that to the show because people want to know and they deserve it. And they were literally the last team shown. Last game shown was Florida State and Georgia. So good times. But we did it. We do that, guys, for you. Yeah. We do that stuff for you. We're not digging ditches here, but we are sacrificing quite a bit. Brady had to put himself to bed.
No.
Which is, he hates doing that. Usually I read him a bedtime story. He didn't get that this night. But we know that Florida State is playing Georgia in Iowa City.
Softball-wise, Florida State drops the series out at number 3, Oklahoma State in Stillwater. They won on Friday night, 7-5. Then got run ruled Saturday and lost by the slimmest of margins, 1 run, 3-2 on Sunday. They've got Oklahoma on Tuesday in Norman. So we got that Tuesday, Friday. The Lady Noles taking on the Lady Dogs in the NCAA tournament. We'll have another show for you folks later this week, possibly Renegade Express on Wednesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday, something like that. We'll have one more show for you for sure. And if needed, if something breaks, but they're all on break, so nothing should be breaking. But there'll be plenty going on over at warchant.com, the Ultimate Seminoles sports source, so stay connected for that. I'm sure we'll have a roundtable, and we'll share observations even further. Check out Tom's report on the trenches, and then the Jeff Cameron show, I think, is not, don't know. Who knows? Maybe 1 to 3. Jeff, I don't know. We don't talk enough, Jeff. I miss you. Talk to me. Respond to my texts. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.